What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another video on the Hooked on SuperCoach channel. Today's video is about the EPL SuperCoach, Gameweek 19 review, and Gameweek 20 plans. The game weeks are coming thick and fast at the moment in EPL, so let's get stuck into today's video. But before we do, I just want to hope everyone had a good New Year's Eve and that everyone is having a good 2026 so far, and that we can keep these green arrows up. So, unfortunately this week for Game Week 19, we scored 95 for the week, which I thought was still a good rank. Not very many players performed particularly well. However, I did see a red arrow down 4 ranks, so from 174 up to 178 now. But we're looking to get back on target to the green arrows, so let's see how we're going to do it. So, for Game Week 19, there we go. We won all my head-to-heads for the week, which is nice. So, how did we go? So, as I mentioned there, we scored 95 for the week, and that consisted of... this is... Sorry, lads. Yeah, here we go. So, yeah, Raya, 4 points. The last-minute clean sheet wipeout for Arsenal did the head in a little bit, especially as a Timber and Raya owner in SuperCoach. Different story in FPL, still got the clean sheet for Timber. However, Raya did lose it there. But he is someone in SuperCoach, I'm happy to keep him, but in FPL, he's someone I've actually moved on this week. So I'll get into the FPL at the very end of the video because most of you guys are here for the SuperCoach content. However, yeah, look, Arsenal, the defence is still one of the best in the league. However, they haven't been able to manage to hold out these clean sheets, and often we've been seeing a few late clean sheet wipeouts for Arsenal. And so if we just have a look at David Raya's last 5 weeks, so to say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, look at this. He's got 1 clean sheet in the last 5 against Villa, Wolves, Everton, Brighton, and Villa again. So, look, he hasn't... Now Gabriel's back, I think it is about to change, but we'll get into that shortly. Moving on to the defenders, Gvardiol, he was benched this morning. Welcome to Pep Roulette. Nothing to worry about. Look, I think he'll be starting for the next game. And I think he just got benched this morning. I think there was he had a bit of a niggle or some tightness or something. And they've got a bunch of games coming up in January. So Pep was just looking to use the fresh legs. However, Gvardiol is still the best City defending asset, I believe, in SuperCoach. And so he's someone I'm still happy to have, and it's just, that's what happens with Pep Roulette. You're bound to be rotated. So yeah, Gvardiol, 4 points. Still did alright. He got subbed on just before the 60th and ended up kicking on to 4 points. So yeah, look, take it. Now, I did trading last week, so I had 16 trades. I've now got 15. So my plan was it was to hold off. However, we got the Arsenal news pretty early that Decky Rice was going to be out, as well as Calafiori. So I would have actually been down a man. So I ended up moving on Calafiori to Dorgu. And after I brought Dorgu in, I thought, as I said, when I saw the lineups, saw that he was in that attacking position, I thought, we may as well have a punt. We're bringing him in this week. Let's throw the VC on him. And he got 5 points. And what's proper pain with that is he scored the last minute winner for United. However, VAR, no goal, offside. So that was a bit painful. However, the opportunities are still there. So he's someone I'm happy to keep for the next 2 weeks. And then I'll be looking to move him on to someone who I'll get into shortly. But won't take too many guesses as it is a Arsenal defender. Moving on, Van Dijk, 12 points. Liverpool kept the clean sheet. What a boring set of games this morning as well, might I mention. I think it was 2-0 alls. Oh, we've gone forward to week 21 there. Yeah, 2-0 alls, 3-0 alls, and 1-1-1. So yeah, not many points going around this morning. And so with my vice captain on Dorgu, obviously wasn't enough to loop, so didn't bother. And then Timber, as my 4th defender for the week, got 12 points. Now, look, Timber, Gvardiol, I think they're staying to the end. Virgil, I think there's every chance he will end up staying to the end as well. Dorgu, as I mentioned, I'll ride his next 2 games out, as well as the price rises. And then I'll look to make a bit of a switch there to Gabriel. But I'll get on to Gabriel later. And then on the bench there, Cucurella, I believe there's an injury. I don't think it's anything long-term, but That honestly doesn't bother me because, as he said, he's got a high break even, but he's got a couple hard games coming up. However, after City, they go on a really good run of games with Fulham, Brentford, Palace, West Ham, Wolves, Leeds, Burnley, and then Arsenal back in game week 28. So if he's out for this week, I wasn't going to play him anyway. However, they've got some good fixtures coming up, so I would probably hold off on that trade. And as we saw on the weekend, Reece James was benched and brought on after half time. So for the safety of minutes, even though Cucurella didn't play, but he didn't play at all because, was injured. So I believe it's just short term. We'll have to wait for news there, but for now, I'm happy to hold him there. Moving on to midfield, with the 0-0 game, Philly Foden blanked. He had that hot run of form before, and now it's looking to cool off a bit. However, I still think he's a gun, so definitely happy to keep. And now, my two trade-ins from last week, Bowen and Palmer, both bagged a goal and both got 16 points. So, super happy with their returns there. I was expecting, due to those returns, I was expecting a bit of a green arrow. However, with Captain Haaland not scoring any points and a lot either vice-captaining Palmer or getting some points elsewhere, that kind of resulted in the slight red arrow, even though I still scored pretty well for the week. But yeah, look, Cole Palmer and Bowen, I think they're both great assets, both one of the key talismans for the team. As I mentioned with Palmer and Chelsea, their fixtures coming up are pretty good, so he'd be someone I'd be definitely looking to move in or look towards buying over the coming weeks. And yeah, Jared Bowen, I just think at that price, with the quality of player that he is, it's just a good buy in midfield. There's not too many midfield options going around at the moment, and so yeah, very happy to have both those two, Palmer and Bowen. Bruno obviously still out injured, so we've held off holding him. I think he's coming back soon though. I think Almiron said he's back next week or the next couple of weeks, so look for him to make a return soon. And if you haven't got him, you can probably, what's his break even? 24, so he's going to drop a bit of cash, so you can buy him back. But as I mentioned, with 15 trades left, I don't really care too much now about cash. It's more so about getting the best players in that position. And yeah, same as Decky Rice, he's out just for the week. I think it's just a small short-term injury. I expect him to be back either this week or next week. So yeah, look, definitely hold off with them. They're season keepers. I wouldn't be looking to move them on. Then into the forward line, we got, look at this, three blanks here in Captain Haaland, Ekitike and Saka. So all of them blanked. Arsenal actually won 4-0. However, Saka didn't get involved in any of the points this week, which is a little bit unfortunate. I know in FPL, I think he got an assist for one of the goals. However, SuperCoach, they don't pay it like that. So he ended up getting just 4 points in SuperCoach there. So yeah, look, not ideal. However, I still think these three are the attackers to own at the moment, especially in the forward line there. So yeah, look, overall for game week 19, not too bad. As I said, 95 points, which saw that tiny red arrow of moving 4 ranks up down the ranks there. Sorry. So yeah, look, all in all, pretty happy with the week. So let's see what we're looking to do for game week 20 then. So looking at the most brought and sold players for the week, we've got number 1, Cucurella. Now, as I mentioned before, I think Chelsea's fixtures coming up after this City game are good, so I think you want to keep him. I don't think he's someone you want to be moving on unless the injury comes out and it's long term or it's a couple of weeks sort of thing. He's someone I'm definitely looking at holding. As I sort of mentioned, they've got the good fixtures coming up. When he plays, he's pretty much guaranteed to play the 90 minutes. He's not like Reece James, whereas, as we saw on the weekends, gets brought on for only 45 minutes, and he does have a bit of attacking threat. However, Reece James does have a lot more attacking threat, and so he's someone that, if you already have Reece James, then you could absolutely sell Cucurella. However, as I sort of mentioned there, with the fixtures coming up, that's just a trade I wouldn't be doing. Number 2, most traded out, Declan Rice. Now, look, absolutely no. He's a season keeper. He's got the best base stats in midfield, or one of the best base stats in midfield. It's just an injury concern, and I believe it's just a short, small-term injury. We'll get some clarity soon, but I expect him to be back, if not this game week, next game week. And so, yeah, I just wouldn't be looking to trade him on there. Number 3, Calafiori. Now, This is someone that I have traded myself personally. I traded him last week for Dorgu. However, if I still had him, I probably would move him on, as we'll get into shortly. I think the best Arsenal defenders or assets are Gabriel and Timber. I think those two are the best. And so Calafiori, this lingering injury concern, we haven't really got any clarification. It's now 2 game weeks in a row where he hasn't been in the squad there. So yeah, just wondering what's going on there. So yeah, Calafiori, that is a trade I could get behind. I wouldn't be looking to go down. I'd be looking to upgrade him and looking to upgrade him to Gabriel there, because I think Gabriel just is the best Arsenal asset behind Timber there. So yeah, Calafiori, I could get behind that trade out. Number 4, Minter. Yeah, look, he's in some bad form at the moment. He started the season with a bang. However, for the past couple games, he hasn't been doing much and actually been starting on the bench with the minutes dropping off considerably. So look, I think if you've still got him, he hasn't scored a double-digit return since game week 14. However, they do have some good fixtures coming up. They've got Burnley this week, then City, Bournemouth, Fulham, Everton, Palace, Villa, Brentford. So look, I wouldn't sell this week. I think you can give him one last week, especially against Burnley. However, City after that, you can look to move on if he doesn't perform this week. So with Minter, I'd probably hold off, give him one final chance this week. However, if you're busting to get a midfielder in, then I get the trade. Number 5, Bruno Fernandes. Now, I think this is just silly. He's been out for a couple of weeks. He's almost back, and so I don't really get why you'd be selling now. But yeah, look, undo that trade. I think he's a hold if you've been holding him this long. Number 6, Lewis Potter. He's been killing it. How did he go on the weekend? He got 6 points, so he had the big score. Not last week, the week before. So yeah, he scored 30 points, then 3-6. So look, I think the cash is made here. What's his break even this week? 17. So yeah, look, I don't quite get that trade in. I know Brentford got some good fixtures coming up. They've got Everton this week, then Sunderland, Chelsea, Forest, Villa, Newcastle. So decent little 5 run of games. However, yeah, look, I do get that trade out. I would be looking to move him on now. I think he's made his cash, and it's time to sell. Now, number 7, Dorgu. He hasn't made his cash yet, and he's still got a good couple of fixtures coming up. So he's got Leeds this week, then Burnley. So yeah, as I mentioned for my team earlier on, I'm looking at holding him for Leeds and Burnley, and then I will be selling him for Game Week 22 for City. So look, let's see what he can do. Brought him in, bit of a short-term punt, as I mentioned there. I like to chase the upside, and an attacking player playing in defence in SuperCoach that before last week had been 30 points and then 17 points. He'd been absolutely killing it and scored on the weekend. Just unfortunate it was offside. He's someone that I'm definitely holding and playing over the next 2, Leeds and Burnley, and then I'll be looking to move him on with City, Arsenal after that. So yeah, look, wouldn't be selling him yet, no way. Number 8, Eze. Now, how about this? Ever since Erdegaard's return, he's hardly played. Like, I don't know quite what's going on there. I don't think he's injured. I think he's been on the bench. But yeah, look, Game Week 16 was his last minutes really in the Prem, and this guy's a class player, so I don't know if it's an issue of depth or he's not training or something's gone wrong at Arsenal grounds. But yeah, look, if you still have him, absolutely sell him. But yeah, not quite sure what's going on there with Eze. Moving on to number 9, Semenyo. I'm pretty sure his move to City is all but confirmed. I don't know when he's going to move or how it's going to go. But yeah, look, if you got him, I would be looking to move him on. With him moving to City, even though he's a weapon of a player, it takes some time to integrate into Pep Roulette. And so, yeah, I'm just not too sure when he's going to start playing again for City. So, yeah, look, absolutely, you can move him on. And the number 10 there is Gusto. Now, as I mentioned with Cucurella, Chelsea have got some good fixtures coming up after this week. So, he's someone I probably wouldn't be looking to sell there. Moving on to the most brought in, and I think by far and away, it's clear, it's Gabriel. So he's brought in by 32% of players this week. And look, I completely get this trade, and it's something I'm going to be doing myself. I don't think there's any certain need to rush him in. He's got Bournemouth this week, who have been pretty good attacking wise, and then he's got Liverpool. So as I sort of mentioned, it ties in well with Dorgu. As I said, Dorgu's got 2 good fixtures, and then I'll be looking to move him on to Gabriel. And hopefully Gabriel's price is coming down a little bit. So yeah, break even at 18, so I might even make some cash on that trade. And then after that, as I said, Arsenal got some pretty good run of games. Forest, United, Leeds, Sunderland, Brentford, Spurs, Chelsea. So Arsenal are also the best defence in the league, and Gabriel is also just the best defender in SuperCoach and FPL. So look, I brought him in FPL this week. SuperCoach, I'm not rushing him in, especially with the limited number of trades. But yeah, look, can't knock the trade in. He is a buy. And so, yeah, absolutely get him into your side. Make a plan around bringing him in the next couple of weeks there. But you don't need to rush him in. Get it if you need to. But yeah, I just think if you've got a Dorgu, give it 2 weeks and then make that swap. That makes complete sense to me. Number 2, Jared Bowen, as I sort of mentioned there. Look, decent fixtures coming up. He's got Wolves this week, so could be a vice-captain shout. And then after that, he's got Wolves, Forest, Spurs, Sunderland, Chelsea, Burnley, United. So good fixtures coming up. As I said, he is a bit of a fixtures player. When he's got decent fixtures, Brighton, Villa, he does well. And so, being the talisman really for West Ham, I think he's just a good trade-in. So yeah, look, he's lost a bit. He's at a great price as well, 7.5 million. So yeah, look, he's someone, especially with the Wolves fixture this week. I think he is a great buy. So yeah, can't knock that. Third, Bruno Guimaraes. Now, got him in FPL, and again, I think he is a good buy as well. Newcastle got some great fixtures coming up. They got Palace, Leeds, Wolves, Villa, Liverpool, Brentford, Spurs, and sort of the next 6 games there. And so, yeah, look, he's just been killing it this year. He's one of the highest scoring midfielders, and rightly so. He gets a bit lucky with his goals. Scored a couple goals off corners, scored a bit of a mistake of a goal on the weekend there against Burnley to get his 3rd goal. And what's funny actually is apparently the Prem have banned knee slide celebrations. So Bruno, or not banned, but it's a yellow card offence now. So Bruno Guimaraes was actually the last player in the Prem to do the knee slide before the new yellow card rule. So fun fact on him there. But yeah, look, great buy. Good fixes coming up. As I said, I would buy Jared Bowen before I bring in Bruno, but can't knock the buy there. Number 4, James Garner. Now, he went ballistic on the weekend. He got 31 points, negative 11 break even. He's going to make you some cash. However, we're over halfway through the season now. Do you really need to be bringing in players that are going to make cash? I think you're better off chasing the points, and players like Bowen and Guimaraes are just better players. And so I'm not too keen on that James Garner trade in there. Number 5, Timber. Yep, as I said, Gabriel and Timber are the best 2 Arsenal assets to own in defence, no doubt in my mind. So yeah, can't knock that trade in at all. As I mentioned there, they got the 2, not difficult, but not hardish games coming up in the next 2. However, after that, the run is pretty sweet. However, if you're looking for a defender this week, well, I'll grab Gabriel first. However, if you already got Gabriel, then yes, I would be going to Timber there. Number 6, Cole Palmer. Yep, as I mentioned there, Chelsea got the good fixtures coming up after this City game. He is the talisman for them. He is the penalty taker. Just trade him in. He's at a good price now, 7.8. We're not quite sure how many minutes he's going to be playing, if he's going to be playing all these fixtures. But the good thing with EPL SuperCoach is you get the team list. You can kind of update your team after that. So if you see if Cole Palmer gets benched, you can just sub him off and then update the team like that. So yeah, look, I think he's a great buy, Cole Palmer there. Tadolski, as I mentioned last week, one of the Everton defenders was in there. I didn't like him. He didn't end up playing. I can't remember the name of the player. But yeah, look, I think James Tadolski is a better asset. However, again, I just don't like the upside with him. I just think Everton are a good defence. He does have some attacking goal threat off corners and set pieces. However, I would be going absolutely for a Timber or Gabriel before him. Everton got some decent fixtures coming up. As I mentioned, though, I just prefer a Gabriel or a Timber or a Virgil or a Chelsea defender after next week. So, can't knock the buy, but wouldn't recommend it personally there. Number 8 and 10 are the Arsenal boys, Ødegaard and Saka. Saka I get as a buy. Still recommend that. Ødegaard, Oh, look, I probably wouldn't recommend that as a buy. I think Arsenal share their points around. However, he did score 15 points on the weekend and Saka scored 4. So he's going to make a bit of cash. He's got a -9 break even. As I said, that it's not the easiest fixtures in the next 2 for Arsenal. However, after that, it does open up a little bit. And since returning, he's kind of, well, especially in the last 2 games, 18 and 15 points. He's been a bit of a talisman there for Arsenal. However, it's more of in that creative role. So, look, if you're after a midfielder, as I said, I would go for a Cole Palmer or Jared Bowen, even a Bruno Guimaraes before I look at an Erdegaard. However, I don't mind it as a bit of a pot option there if you're lacking a bit of Arsenal coverage. And then for the last brought in player, it's Cherky, and I'd probably cool off with him now. He's sitting at 13 million now, so he's gone up quite a bit. How many did he score on the? He scored 11 points, so that's actually impressive considering Foden only scored 6. So yeah, look, I still think I prefer Foden over Cherky, especially with Semenya going to City. I don't quite know how it's going to line up. I do think Semenya will play on the right, so I don't know if Foden's going to go to the middle or to the left. I think Cherky's probably in a better position there. They'll put Cherky in the middle, play Semenya out wide, but again, I don't know how long it's going to take Semenya to get integrated into the team. However, that covers the 10 most brought and sold players for the week. Let's get into what I'm going to do and then captaincy calls. So, for this week, I don't think I'm going to trade again. Now, as I mentioned, I do want Gabriel. However, my plan is to Dorgu to Gabriel in 2 weeks. We'll ride the Dorgu train for 2 more weeks. Let's see if he can do anything. He's got Leeds this week. Hopefully he does something. Hopefully it's not offside this week. If he doesn't do anything, he's got Burnley, I think it is, after that. Yeah, so he's got 2 chances of the Bicky. And then after that, I'm going to be selling him to Gabriel. Going to be holding Cucurella. I think Declan Rice should be back, so we'll start him and we'll go into it. So yeah, we'll go Raya in defence against Bournemouth. Not confident on a clean sheet here, however, see how we go. I'll probably end up looping or having an opportunity to loop, so it's bugged out. We'll give it a quick refresh, see how it's going. And so yes, we'll go Raya sub on just for the loophole. Gvardiol, so City have got Chelsea. I think City should win that game, especially with Chelsea missing Caicedo for 5 yellow cards. So I do think I will ride Captain Haaland this street. Bit of a pod. I think people will look elsewhere. However, I think I will be going to Captain Haaland because it's been a couple of weeks now. He hasn't scored, so I'm sure he's due. So happy with Gvardiol. Happy with Dorgu. Won't be vice-captaining him though. I think I might be going Bowen this week. But yeah, so Gvardiol, Dorgu, Liverpool have got Fulham. We'll play him. As I said, Arsenal, decent, toughish fixture. I don't know what's happening with Rice. So for now, I'll leave him out just because I don't know if he's going to play. However, if he does come back, I will probably start him over who. We'll figure that out if it needs be. However, for now, we'll set up with Gvardiol, Dorgu, Van Dijk and Timber in defence, benching Cucurella against City. Then in midfield, we'll have Foden, Palmer and Bowen, with Bowen vice-captain. Could also vice-captain Saka. However, I think Bowen's just got the upside, especially against Wolves. However, Wolves have been playing better, as we kind of saw on the weekend. They almost beat United. United are a bit of a shambles of a side, to be fair, though. And then, we'll bench Bruno. Should be back soon. And Decky Rice will bench just because not too sure on the injury news. However, if he's playing, I definitely will be starting him there. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Captain Haaland and then Ekitike and Saka, we can just keep rolling out every week. So there's the side for Gameweek 20 in EPL SuperCoach. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you've enjoyed the EPL SuperCoach. Well, quick shout out to the league, the Hooked On EPL SuperCoach League. The league code is 700950. And we've actually got second place in here as well. You're a wizard, Bruno, with Huss. So let's see what he did. See, that's how he got his points. Vice-captain Palmer over Dorgu. He doesn't actually have Dorgu. He brought in Lewis Hall, did he? Over Dorgu. So there we go. Look, did the loop. Raya, Virgil, Cucurella didn't play, so Collins subbed on. That's worked out well for him. Lewis Hill, Timber, Foden, Palmer, Bowen, Haaland, Ekitike, Saka. That seemed familiar, especially with Bruno and Rice on the bench there. So yeah, look, he's doing it right. The vice captain really cost me this week for good green arrow. As I said, still scored well, like 95. Pretty good. This bloke scored 96 and he got green arrows, so we weren't too far off. And I think this week we should be on for a green arrow, fingers crossed. We just really need Jared Bowen to do something as vice captain. But yeah, that covers the SuperCoach side of the content this week. Let's quickly touch on the FPL side. So in FPL we scored 49 points for the week and captain blank. So we captained Cunha in here. Didn't do anything, but luckily enough, neither did Haaland or Ekitike or a lot of the other popular captain options. And so we actually saw a big green arrow from 360k odd to now 260k. So 100k green arrow, which is always nice. It was hard to get points this week. Raya with a blank, Timber with the assist, and because in FPL, if you get subbed off and they've got the clean sheet at that time in place, they walk away with the clean sheet. So got a 9-pointer there for Timber. Virgil with the clean sheet with 6. Anderson with 3. Saka with 6. As I mentioned, he got the assist in FPL. Foden with the blank. Cunha with the blank. Bruno Guimaraes with that last-minute goal. Wilson with the blank. And then Ekitike and Haaland. However, I've already made my trades for FPL this week. We've actually traded out Raya and we've traded out Virgil van Dijk, and we've brought in Pickford and we've brought in Gabriel. As I mentioned, I think Gabriel is the best defender to own in both FPL and SuperCoach. So I brought him in for VVD, and in SuperCoach I'll be bringing him in for Dorgu in 2 weeks. And so yeah, I just think Timber, Gabriel and Saka are the best 3 Arsenal assets, so they're in the side, and I've loaded up with them. Captain for this week, we'll go for Haaland for now. Vice captain Cunha. I just won't back a United player again. After that performance, was one of the most frustrating watches for United. I couldn't imagine being a United fan. The poor bastards. It's been a long season for them, but I don't know. They just win games they shouldn't and lose games or draw games that they should win. So they're a funny little side. But yeah, this is how I'll be lining up. Anderson or Sensei. I think Anderson have probably got a better chance of keeping a clean sheet against Liverpool compared to Sensei against Arsenal. Both are good for defensive contributions though. Midfield, yeah, Saka, Foden, Cunha, Bruno, Wilson. Wilson not the best fixture. Leeds, however, we saw the 0-0 last night with Liverpool and Leeds. And Leeds actually had a few chances. So, look, I think Wilson might get something. I don't know how it'll go, but happy to take a punt on him there. Then up top, we got Captain Haaland and Ekitike. So that is the FPL side of things. We'll save that. Back to the team there. So yeah, as I said, my trade-ins for this week have already been done. I sold David Raya and I sold VVD. I've got 0.2 in the bank. No more free transfers, so I didn't take a hit. I just rolled 2 transfers in a row last week and now using the 2 from this week. There. So yeah, that is my FPL side for this week and EPL side as well. So if you guys enjoy this content, don't forget to leave a comment down below how you went, who you're looking at trading in, what you think of Gabriel and Man United, and don't forget to subscribe, guys. But appreciate you all being here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys.